Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This reports for the 9th of November, and while look at the party continues. This is just that post-election continuation as we move closer to what I've always been saying, that 4K number that's looming out there. And again, this is the preparation for the idea that, regardless, there's going to, whoever wins, it doesn't really matter, is going to be forced into additional stimulus. You have, again, these varied lockdowns. So there's going to need to be some kind of support. Well, that also means that you're going to have a devaluation effectively, which means you have to increase the value of the market to accommodate for that loss of value, because there can't be a loss of value. It's the whole point. That's why the market is what it is. But as we see, the NASDAQ already approached the peak right back here from September. So we're right back to where we were from before. And slightly overbought some of these. I mean, we already had that positive extreme here that got filled back in the other day before getting bought back up. And then once we got over the 76% here, we pushed right up against the 100, backed off it a little bit. Imagine that we will probably come back up to it and face it again. That doesn't mean there aren't some troubling aspects or concerns. It's just a matter of having to wait for the signal for those at this particular point not expressing itself. Euro standpoint, we got cyan under red, continuing power bell. This is also supportive of that theory that the dollar is going to have a devaluation, because certainly you got zero growth or anything happening in the EU. I mean, literally nothing is happening. Everybody's in form of lockdown, extended or otherwise, and it's going to require more easing from the ECB anyway. So probably what I would say worse than what's going on in the US without question. And that has been a boon to gold like we expected. No surprise there, and that's going to continue to push higher. Intraday, a lot of good stuff that we were pointing out here as it relates to the DOC relationship with also the Power Mode 2 and the long and short algos. So that orange cross above steel and the dip below for the continuation, and then you have the turnaround that can happen like literally right at the same time. And that's what we look for, is that orange coming back down, the steel crossing back above. And of course that's the early pivot point, but even if you waited for the orange to dip just a bar or so later, not long before it does that same crossover along with the green below red. And these are the little things that make it easier. I mean, certainly you can wait for confirmations. A lot of times these will come across a couple of bars. When you're below 50%, though, tends to be a little more problematic. It's the ones that are above 50% that tend to drag a little bit before you get a finalized signal. And that's just the nature of it, because usually when you're above that 50% line, you've had a decent run. It takes a little time to get out of the position and then to acquire a new position. And you got to think of it in the terms of making that execution and why it sometimes takes a little bit before it happens. And that unless there's the clear selling, going up into the lead, but that you're not going to find that when you're seeing positive extremes going into the end of a run like that, because that's just pure one-sided. So that's the final push off of the algo, and then they start to sell into that final peak. And that's what does it in. Then we came across just a lot of muck up at the top. We still dipped down. It's hard to get. There you go, because the massive pump post-market, which is exactly what we had talked about last week, that they would take advantage of after hours to really move things, to set a narrative projection, and working quite nicely. I mean, you're seeing just staggering up numbers. And a lot of people are going to object to it because they're all going to be talking about valuations and earnings per share, EPS, and that. And just ignore that talk. Just go with what we see. And when it starts to flip, you'll know. It'll be easy to recognize. As always, though, I will continue to put up details on the Skype chat. Trade well, and we'll talk again later.